Every university, like every human being, must ask from time to time who it shall be. From time to time, every university, like every human being, must freely decide again who it shall become. Our charge in the broadest terms is clear. The parameters have never changed. What the prophet Micah declaimed to the kingdom of Judah 8 centuries before Christ still echoes in Scranton after 2,700 years. This alone does the Lord require. This is our sole purpose. Only this: to act justly, to love tenderly, and to walk humbly with our God. The words are so compelling that they should be engraved on every heart, in addition to being inscribed on student t-shirts. This alone the Lord requires, only this: to act justly, to love tenderly, and to walk humbly with our God. What more then needs to be said? Well, a lot. Every university, like every human being, must not content itself with noble assertions. Even granting the force of Micah's prophecy, difficult questions remain. What is justice? Who is my neighbor? Who is this one that I must tenderly love? Who is this God with whom we humbly walk? Some might even ask whether the God with whom I walk has anything in common with the one that you follow. If painful factions in the religious reality we inhabit did not convince us, deep divisions in the political sphere surely would. Asking hard questions about justice, good, right, God, expose us to real struggle and genuine difference. The exhortation we heard in the second reading from Paul, to be of the same mind with the same love, united in heart, thinking one thing, may not only seem practically impossible, but inherently suspect to a scholarly community that rightly prizes diversity of thought, expression, and opinion. Nor can we presume that mention of God or Christ will always be welcome in a world of academic discourse. But this is the world where a Catholic university in the Jesuit tradition pitches its tent. It is here that we ask who we shall be. Here we freely decide again who we shall become. Rather than establishing its identity through defensive battles with an apparent devil, the Catholic Jesuit University does better to look at that statue which enjoys such prominence on this campus, Jacob and the angel. After crossing the stream, says the book of Genesis, Jacob was left alone, and there was one that wrestled with him until the break of dawn. I cannot tell you how much of my own life as a Jesuit priest, as a teaching scholar, as a man, can be characterized as wrestling with the angel. Moreover, the image stunningly represents the powerful struggles of colleagues and students that I have known and loved, even those with whom I have profoundly disagreed. We are summoned to the arena by questions of immense personal and global concern. In apparent darkness, we tangle with winged mysteries we can neither name nor throw off. We find ourselves vulnerable and overpowered only to be blessed at daybreak and have it revealed that it is God with whom we were striving. And we're transformed in the struggle. Your name shall no longer be Jacob, he says, but Israel. What a strange God it is who chooses a midnight encounter to be made known to us. And still we wrestle. Still we thirst. Still we long for that loving mystery we can never control or possess. And the irony is that it is in dispossession that we come to know him. Every university, like every human being, strives to identify for itself solid goals and objectives that we set out to achieve. That is how things work in the economy of the world. But in the economy of salvation, by which we in the Christian tradition also live, the ultimate metric of our success will always be this person, Christ. And who is he? He is the one who, though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God something to be grasped, but who emptied himself, humbled himself, became obedient even unto death, death on a cross. For those of us who have heard these words so many times, it is easy to forget just how radical they are, how completely they turn any conventional conception of God on its head. The mystery of a God who not only walks with us in compassion, but lives and suffers and dies with us in the flesh, lies at the heart of Jesuit commitment to the service of faith and the promotion of justice. Jesus embodied God's solidarity with a fragile, questioning world, and he commands us to do likewise. Every university, like every human being, must ask from time to time who it shall be. As the University of Scranton celebrates the inauguration of a new president, I suggest that you begin with the gospel Father Quinn himself asked to be read at this liturgy. Jesus knows he has precious few hours to instruct his disciples. He does not use his time outlining course goals or learning objectives. He does not use his time issuing to his apostles an educational philosophy, catechisms, or creedal formulae. He himself is the curriculum. Christ, the teacher. For those of us who have the privilege of calling ourselves professor, let us note, perhaps with some discomfort, that his teaching finally lies in who he is, what he does, how he interacts with his disciples. With this method, the evangelist John tells us, he would show his love for them to the end. For those of us who have the privilege of being students, let us note, perhaps with discomfort, that in taking off his cloak, tying a towel around his waist, pouring water into a basin and washing feet, Jesus is radically subverting cultural expectations of what power or authority is. And make no mistake, a college education places you among an elite 6% of the world's population, and thus it gives you extraordinary access to social capital. So to be taught that you must wash the feet of others, Peter himself refuses, because an education based on Jesus' last lecture calls us to a kind of humility and generosity and self-sacrifice that may in fact be risky. But all the same, Jesus asks his disciples and all who come after them for millennia, do you understand what I did for you? I washed your feet. I who am teacher and Lord, as I have done, you must do. Begin then, University of Scranton, together with the local church represented here today so generously by Bishop Ambera and the whole community. Begin, University of Scranton, to ask again who you shall be by allowing Jesus to address you to the heart. Do you understand what I did for you? Let yourself be animated by the education he modeled. May his example challenge you to work actively, never to confuse excellence with entitlement, but to be, as St. Ignatius urges us in the spiritual exercises, be magnanimous. Build up a culture of generosity that always looks for the good of the other and always seeks what is for the greater glory of God. And as you begin your service, Father Quinn, we pray sincerely that the spirit of this gospel may inspire you every day. With your mother and your whole family, we pray that your ministry may here draw you more deeply into a companionship with Jesus that you have sought your whole life long as a Jesuit. And as fellow pilgrims on the journey, Kevin, we pray that you will be given the strength, the courage, the joy, the love, the confidence you need to lead this fine university where the Lord requires. And in times of trial, we pray for your peace of mind, a peace that comes from knowing that this alone is what the Lord requires of you, Kevin, only this: to act justly, to love tenderly, and to walk humbly with your God.